Now at 4, a new report details the final months of Jim Irsay's life. We'll tell you what we've learned about the beloved Colts owner and his battle with substance use.
And new power lines and potential health concerns. We'll talk to a couple that's raising those concerns.
And we're watching some scattered showers move off of radar, but we've got some clearing out and some warming up to do as we head closer to the weekend.
And the Colts have picked their captains ahead of a new season. We'll tell you who they are. Live from Indy, you're watching 13 News. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here at 4 o'clock. And we begin with new details emerging about the shooter who took 2 lives and injured 18 others inside a Minneapolis church yesterday. But the most important clue really remains elusive. What provoked a 23-year-old former student to take such deadly, unimaginable action?
So the investigation's underway and law enforcement agencies are doing their work right now to answer some of those questions. And the community is responding by gathering to support each other through a tragedy that unfortunately in this country has become all too familiar. Ivan Rodriguez in Minneapolis right now, where survivors, families and officials are grappling with grief and also anger. And
we want to warn you first, you may find some of the following images graphic and upsetting.
Our love is greater than that evil.
By candlelight, in a gymnasium with a makeshift altar, and on their knees praying before a sidewalk memorial. The people of Minneapolis look for comfort in the aftermath of Wednesday's tragic mass shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church. Incredible images continue to surface, like this one from a parent showing children and staff rushing from the sanctuary minutes after the gunfire ended. That parent, a father of 2 young survivors, praised school officials.
The principal stayed so calm at DeBoer, and he was ushering kids out.
Principal Matthew DeBoer welcomes community prayers, but is urging for more.
But don't stop with your words. Let's make a difference and support this community. Never again can we let this happen.
Investigators are focusing on the deceased shooter, 23-year-old Robin Westman.
What we have found so far, unfortunately, is a classic pathway to violence for an active shooter or a mass shooter.
Police say they're looking into a manifesto that Westman posted on social media, along with hundreds of other pieces of evidence.
This is an individual that harbored a whole lot of hate towards many people.
The school has trained for active shooters in the past, and the sanctuary doors were locked during Mass Wednesday. That's when police say Westman improvised.
This coward committed this act by shooting from outside the church through the windows.
But the biggest question remains, why did this happen?
The reality is this is completely senseless and just an unthinkable tragedy.
In Minneapolis, I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
Today, an exclusive report from the Washington Post documents the final few months of Jim Irsay's life.
The Colts owner died back in May, and now sources close to him told the Post reporters he had relapsed and was getting treatment from a doctor in California.
Our Samantha Johnson spent today reading through those new details and joins us now live in studio with what she's learned. What can you tell us, Sam?
This report is 15 pages. There is a lot of information in here, and I actually talked to one of the writers today. He tells me most of the testimony in this new report comes from 5 anonymous people who say they were very close to Jim Irsay. They claim Irsay relapsed at least 3 times in his last 5 years of life. They say he was also getting opioids and ketamine from a prominent addiction specialist in California. In fact, the Washington Post reports that doctor was at the Beverly Hills Hotel caring for Irsay the day he died. That doctor then allegedly told police Irsay died of natural causes. But the writers at the Post say it's not clear if that doctor was upfront about the medications he was giving Irsay at the time of his death. What questions still remain? What's still unanswered in all of this?
If Mr. Irsay truly died of cardiac arrest caused by pneumonia, as the death certificate indicates, and if the treatment he received from this doctor over the last 2 years of his life played a role.
So the Colts did send us a statement in response to this report saying in part, quote, "Our focus remains on honoring our dad's legacy, his decades of philanthropy, his loyalty to the Colts and its fans, and his passion for mental health advocacy, music, and second chances. Now, I can tell you the Colts are facing some backlash in all of this because writers of the article say the Colts misled the public about what was actually going on behind the scenes. Not to mention, of course, the Kicking the Stigma campaign, which was launched back in 2020. It's all about talking publicly about these sort of things. And so now they're getting a little bit of pushback. We'll talk more about that coming up at 5 o'clock.
Do we know if police are looking into this?
So we did call Beverly Hills Police today. We did not hear back, but we know police officers there told the Post that right now there is no investigation into his death, nor is there an investigation going into the treatment that he received before he died. Something to keep an eye on.
Okay.
All right, Sam, thanks. We'll look for your continued coverage as our news continues here at 5 and 6. Thank you. Also today, we heard from a jury that found former IMPD officer Myron Howard not guilty on all charges, including rape, criminal confinement, and official misconduct. Howard was fired from the department last year after the criminal charges were filed against him. Investigators say he returned to a woman's home on North Olney Street in January of 24, just minutes after officers arrested the woman's boyfriend for domestic battery. The woman says she had sex with Howard under the implied threat that she could be arrested too. The prosecutor argued that this was rape, while the defense says the woman lied about the consensual sex because she was afraid of how her boyfriend would react. Keep in mind, Howard isn't off the hook even with this verdict. He is now still facing official misconduct and unlawful proposition charges, among others, in a separate case that dates back to 2023. Now, in that incident, Howard allegedly had sex with a woman in the back of his police cruiser, that in exchange for a ride home. He was on the scene because her car was involved in an accident, and Howard responded to that report. You can read more about that case on our website right now if you head over to WTHR.com.
A McCordsville couple is raising concerns right now about plans for new power lines right in front of their home.
And one of them has epilepsy as a diagnosis, and because of that epilepsy is worried that the new power lines could put her at more risk of seizures. Brandon Schaff joins us now live in studio to explain what they would like done instead. Brandon?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Anne Marie, Dustin. So they're actually building a proposed power line right along the road that is in front of their home, and it's all a part of a bigger project here that's called the Winding Ridge Transmission and Substation Interconnection Project. John and Krista Sweezy moved into their home back in 2012, and after a boating accident earlier in life that caused a traumatic brain injury, Krista now has epilepsy and controls her seizures with medication. Well, they used to be a lot more frequent, a couple a month from 2012 to 2014, but she's only had one episode in the last 11 years. And her husband say that these power lines being built so close to their home could increase her risk of having another episode. John saying that he wants AES to consider alternatives, other routes that would avoid his home.
I want there to be action behind the person who hears it. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for somebody to change this so that we don't have to leave here.
A 2013 NIH study looked at the effects of exposure to different frequencies of electromagnetic waves in various durations. It found that acute exposure to those waves may facilitate epileptic seizures, possibly independent of how long they were exposed to that. John says that he looks at these studies to see how it could potentially affect his wife if those power lines are built. And I did also reach out to AES Indiana for comment. They are working on a statement for me, so for now we are waiting to hear back. But, you know, certainly something that they have on their radar.
Yeah, it's so hard when they picked that home, they bought that home, they've been decorating, they've created a life there, and then this external change to them really kind of puts them in this difficult situation.
Yes, and there's a lot of open land right where they live too. That substation is very close to where they live, but as of right now, it hasn't been turned on yet, so they don't really know how that could potentially affect them either.
All right. Thank you, Brandon. Let's get it over to Rob with the first check of the forecast. Are we done with the rain, Rob?
I think the rain is moving out, at least this batch of rain. There's still a chance for some showers later in our forecast, later in the afternoon. But right now, we're watching some of these clouds move out. Some of you have broken into some sunshine. It's actually turned out to be a pretty nice day. And you know what? The rain was welcome at times because things were getting a little bit on the drier side. So it's nice to get some of that rain in and out of here pretty quickly. But look at this. We've rebounded. We really kept the temperatures down with all of those clouds earlier in the day. We've moved up to 74. Look at Terre Haute staying with a lot more sunshine earlier in the day. You're now up to 80 degrees. But this is what we're tracking next. There's a front here that's going to try to move in from the north. It doesn't have a lot of rain with it, but as it sags across the area sometime this evening, wouldn't rule out an isolated shower before a new air mass moves in. And that air mass is going to be a little bit drier than even what we've had in place over the last day or so. Temperatures dropping back down into the 60s for tonight. We'll leave some clouds in place. I'll leave that chance of rain showers really for the early part of the evening. And then tomorrow, look at this. Sunny, pleasant, beautiful conditions. 77 for your high temperature. Looks great. Operation Football going on. Looks great for tomorrow. We've got temperatures coming out of the 70-degree mark, easing into the 60s. Plenty of clear skies with a few clouds popping up. Looks pretty good as we head into the weekend.